chance to make history. The Iowa Hawkeye women's basketball team with a Goliath type of challenge ahead in the Final Four. We'll talk about Iowa and South Carolina, the matchup we've all been waiting for, in a moment. But first, I want to tell you about Ascent Nutrition and their Lion's Mane mushroom, folks. Be sure to get a jar of this stuff. Mushrooms are widely known for their health and supportive properties. This stuff, brand new, just dropped from Ascent Nutrition, encourages the production of beneficial bacteria in your gut. It promotes a healthy blood sugar level and also supports your memory and focus. Great for your overall health, folks. Visit goascentnutrition.com and use the code Hawkeyes, that's plural, Hawkeyes, for 15% off your order, and check out their other mushroom products as well. But this is their Lion's Mane mushroom, only at goascentnutrition.com. Also, Iowa Floor Covering, they've been supporting the channel for months now. We appreciate IFC down in Bondurant. Show your appreciation by supporting them. Visit iowafloorcovering.com/DIY to get more information on this tough core, click together 4.5 millimeter waterproof vinyl flooring that's available at an unbelievable rate, $269 per foot with self-installation. And in this world of inflation, you cannot beat a price like that from a company that will treat you right and treat you on a personal level. Visit iowafloorcovering.com/DIY. Tyler and the boys down at IFC, we appreciate them supporting the channel. And of course, all of our sponsors you can find in the description. Click on the links in the description below this video. So what a game we had the other night. And I just want to, one more time, thank Tania Davis. We had two excellent post-game shows with former Hawkeye guard Tania Davis following the Iowa win against Colorado in the Sweet 16, following the win over Louisville in the Elite Eight. And the fact of the matter is the Hawkeyes have made history, right? This is just the second time that this Iowa women's basketball program has made the Final Four. It's the first time since 1993. That was a Vivian Stringer coach team that ended up losing. This is an opportunity to get to the national championship game for the first time in the history of the program, and they literally have to go through Goliath. This is an undefeated South Carolina team, a South Carolina team that is 36-0. All right, 36-0, and if you look through their schedule, they have been basically dominant every time out, with a few exceptions. And I'm here to give you my keys to somehow taking down Goliath and making history. What a moment that would be. It would be the biggest win, no doubt, the biggest win in the history of the Iowa women's basketball program. It might be the biggest win in the history of Iowa athletics. Is that hyperbole? I don't know, man. It might be. Certainly, it would give you an opportunity to play in the absolute biggest game in the history of Iowa athletics. And that's no offense to Iowa wrestling. They've won a lot of national championships, certainly go back to the Dan Gable years, etc. But this would just be unprecedented to know what they did, how they had to get there. And certainly with Caitlin Clark, anything is possible. What does Iowa need to do to take down the Gamecocks? Well, here's the deal. You look through South Carolina's schedule and what they did. Of course, they're coming off the win to Maryland. I watched that game from start to finish. Maryland came out, I thought, actually played pretty darn well. South Carolina, late in the game, ended up building close to a 20-point lead, made it look like it wasn't even very close. Maryland kind of cut back. Final score ended up being 86-75, but I thought Maryland really competed. And if you look at the stats on the glass, Maryland losing 48-26, that's pretty typical. And this is a Maryland team that can somewhat bring the athleticism. I mean, you're not going to be able to match what South Carolina gives you in size and athleticism. I don't think any team can. But to get killed by almost double on the glass is just indicative of what South Carolina is and how hard they are to compete against. And I certainly don't think the officials did Maryland any favors. I did see there were some comments by their star player, Diamond Miller, after the game about some of the officiating. Abby Myers fouled out early in the fourth quarter. There were 4 players with 2 fouls in the first half. And although every call has to be looked at differently and officiated differently, you just wonder, how can Maryland possibly get called for the game? These were totals for the game. Maryland got called for 26 fouls and South Carolina just 12. I watched that game from start to finish, and I don't understand it because, as we're watching the game, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a wrestling match. And if I was going to win this game in 5 days, it's going to be a wrestling match, and I was going to have to bring it physically and match the physicality. But I thought Maryland did that. And the officials did not reward them for that. The officials rather punished them for coming out and playing aggressive basketball and officiated this game unevenly, I thought. All right. Now, here's the deal. Against Iowa, a team that does not have the athleticism of a Maryland, they're going to have to approach this differently. You can't get killed on the glass, and that's my first key. You're going to get beat on the glass. You're not going to out-rebound the South Carolina team. In fact, you're not even going to come close to out-rebounding the South Carolina team. But I think you have to at least compete. Here's the magic number for me, folks. 15. Cannot get beat by more than 15 boards on the glass. And this is kind of me gathering a sample size. You look through some of South Carolina's close games. They actually played UCLA. UCLA battled them a couple times this season, somewhat close. They played them in the regular season, played them in postseason play. They were competitive on the glass. You look at UConn. UConn struggled to make any shots from behind the arc. Didn't really take many shots but from behind the arc, but did play them close. Again, you cannot get killed on the glass. That's one of the common denominators. Second key to somehow taking down Carolina, you've got to double them up from three, all right? Not only have to double them up in makes, but you also have to make at least 10. Iowa's not going to be able to win this game if they make 6 threes. They're just not going to be able to do it. Even if they hold South Carolina to 2 or 3, and there are games where South Carolina makes almost no threes, but South Carolina punishes you from behind the arc and makes it difficult on your shooters. Now, this might be the best shooting team, the best offensive team overall that South Carolina has faced. But in my mind, Iowa has to make at least 10 three-pointers, and they have to hold South Carolina to at least 5 or less. And if they do that, I think it gives them a fighting chance. And the third key is you've got to win the turnover battle. And that has happened at times. There have been games where South Carolina's gotten a little loose with the basketball. And if you're Iowa, you got to take advantage of those fast break opportunities and certainly limit the opportunities that you give South Carolina in transition. This is not a high volume South Carolina offense, but they put up 86 against Maryland. And what's crazy about that is that game wasn't really even close. Again, the final was 86-75. Maryland outshot South Carolina and made 7 threes. But again, they got killed on the glass. And the difference from in the foul category and with players out and the disparity at the free throw line, Maryland just didn't stand a chance late in the fourth quarter. Obviously, Aliyah Boston is spectacular. But honestly, she was okay against Maryland. She put up 22 and 10. She's not the player that Caitlin Clark is. I don't know how in the world you could possibly call Aliyah Boston the National Player of the Year over Caitlin Clark. I guess that's a discussion for another day. But Boston was really good. The other thing about this, you bring in Camila Cardoso, and she is just unbelievably big at 6'7", the Brazilian center that comes in off the bench. And she'll play alongside Aliyah Boston. I mean, you're looking at 6'5", 6'7", a combination of post players there. Hannah Stuelke has to play. Her health is of utmost importance. And if I'm Iowa, I'm being very careful with how much I work her this week down in Dallas. Coming off that ankle injury, it was good to see Hannah log about 20 minutes the other night against Louisville. She is going to have to play on Friday. I asked this question to Tania Davis. Do we see O'Grady and Czinano together? I didn't get the feel that Tania really thought that was going to happen, and I don't know that would happen. I don't know how much those two have ran on the floor together at all this year. I don't remember those two running together on the floor at the same time. Maybe they mix a little bit of that in. Certainly, if you get into foul trouble early, you may not have a choice. Iowa's going to come out there with a starting lineup where you have basically McKenna Warnock playing the 4. So, I mean, they're going to have to figure out a way to play Stuelke and Czinano at the same time. I really do believe that. And with Stolke's injury, you just hope she can stay on the floor for long periods of time, and they've got to stay out of foul trouble. I know that wasn't one of my 3 keys. I don't expect them to win the foul battle. I expect the officials to favor South Carolina's style of play. I sure hope it's officiated fairly. But I think if you're Iowa, yeah, you have to try to match them physically, but that's not how you're going to win this game. You've got to make threes. You've got to do what you do and take care of the basketball and give yourself a fighting chance. But you've got to outshoot South Carolina. That's a bottom line to have any chance of winning this game. And South Carolina makes it so hard to shoot threes. Look, they don't need to pack the paint against a gal like Monica Czinano. I think you're going to see Czinano go one-on-one against her defender. Can they get clean entry passes in Czinano, and can she get clean shots off? That's going to be a question. But because they don't feel the need to pack the paint on someone like Czinano, they're able to defend the three-point arc. You look what Iowa did against Louisville. They just killed the Cardinals from behind the three-point arc, making 16 threes. South Carolina hasn't given up close to 16 threes. There was a game I found where South Carolina gave up 10 threes in a game and still won. Like I said, I think you at least have to get those 10. You have to hit that 10 number, and that's going to be difficult to do because history says South Carolina does not give up 10 or more threes hardly ever. So again, we'll see what we shall see. I will be live with you for post-game coverage following the Final Four game Friday, folks. Friday, 8 p.m. Central Time is the tip for Iowa and South Carolina. There's a watch party going on in Carver Hawkeye Arena. It's an unbelievable time to be an Iowa women's basketball fan. Enjoy the game Friday. We'll see if Iowa can make this competitive. I think they can, but can the Hawkeyes take down Goliath of the college basketball world? We'll find out Friday evening. Join me for post-game coverage following the game right here from the Hawkeye of the Storm.